Good morning, O'Brien. We're coming to you live from Malindi, and today we are joined by Sanlam Investments East Africa, one of the largest financiers, fund managers in East Africa. Just to give us an overview of what they're doing here is that they're meeting boards of trustees of individual pension scheme funds, managers, to just expose them to the opportunities that lie in this particular market. So I'm joined by the CEO of Sanlam, Mr. Jonathan, just to give us an overview, of course, of what they are talking to them about and what are some of the opportunities that lie in this particular sector. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, June, and nice to be with you this morning. Good morning. My name is Jonathan Stichbury. I'm the CEO of Sanlam Investments East Africa, and we're gathered here in Malindi today for our first client conference in over 2 years because obviously of the pandemic. And we've gathered our clients together from not just Kenya but also Uganda as well. Most of them are institutional clients, most of them are pension fund trustees, but we also have a wide range of other stakeholders, including regulators, who've joined us here today. And the thing that we're talking about is really what can pension schemes do to increase their returns to their members, so that they can generate better returns. So when pensioners retire, they have more money to retire with. Traditionally, pension schemes have invested the majority of their assets in government securities like treasury bills and treasury bonds, and that continues to this day. But what we've been seeing over the last couple of years over the pandemic is a number of new exciting investment opportunities are coming to the fore, and we've got a bunch of presenters in here today who are talking about new investment opportunities, and this can mean things like private equity. Private equity is companies which are operating in the region but are not necessarily listed on the stock exchange. And if you think about it, that's most companies. We've also got speakers here talking about infrastructure. How do you invest in infrastructure? Pension funds are a large pool of captive capital. They can think long term because their long-term liabilities, people's pensions, are 20 years down the track. And so they're the ideal institution or investor to think about investing in infrastructure, where you have to invest up front and you get long-term returns over a long period. Other areas which are quite interesting just now are a great big theme just now is sustainability. How do you make sure that your investments are sustainable and they're not exploitative or robbing from one community or another? And so we're going to be having speakers about that as well. And then we're also discussing power. How do we make Kenya's power cheaper? How can we as investors invest in that sector and reduce the burden to the men and women on the street, so that our cost of electricity in particular goes down? So it's a really interesting forum. We've got a whole panel of experts in here. We've got some of the largest pension schemes in Kenya represented by their trustees. We've got regulators, we've got other stakeholders, investment advisors, and so on. And so we're really hoping for a lively debate over the next 2 days.
One of the issues that has come out is some of these trustees look for foreign investors as opposed to local ones, for example, like Sanlam, to help them invest these particular schemes for their clients. What is that to you?
Well, I think if you look at the Retirement Benefits Authority's data, it actually shows that only a very small portion of Kenyan pension schemes are invested outside of East Africa. I think it's less than 2%. So I think pension schemes want to invest in Kenya or in Uganda or in the region. They see the attractiveness of the investment opportunities here, and they don't particularly want to take a lot of currency risk, because remember, if you start investing outside the region, you are automatically taking a risk that if that currency weakens, you're going to realize a loss on that. So I think there's a lot going on in Kenya and Uganda and elsewhere in the region. Clearly, people haven't been able to travel over the last couple of years. Until yesterday, we couldn't even travel at night. And so, it's an exciting time for us to really open new doors, to think again, not just to do the same old that the people have been doing in the past, and to look for other ways that we can help not just generate returns for our pension schemes, but also help use that pension scheme, use that money to help fund an expansion of the economy in the region.
The pandemic, of course, has and must have hit you in a very large way. Is the economy reviving, and what are some of the gears that you have put in place so that you can ensure that people stay afloat who are attached to your investments group?
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I mean, when the pandemic first struck, we saw stock markets around the world all fall. I'm very pleased that they've all sort of seemed to have recovered, and that includes the stock markets in Kenya and Uganda as well. And so that's been encouraging. We've also seen more investors wanting to think a little bit laterally, think about, what can we do that is positive for the environment, positive for the economy, positive for power, positive for infrastructure, positive to the way that we live our lives as well. But yes, some pension schemes did suffer more than others, and I think those ones in particular which were linked to economically sensitive sectors like the hospitality sector, tourism, they've obviously, some of the members of those schemes will have had difficult times over the last year or so. So let's hope that now that we're opening up the economy, let's hope that now the curfew has been removed, let's hope we're going to see tourists come out here for Christmas, and we see the economy revive again. And certainly our numbers, our projections are that we're going to see much stronger economic growth at the end of this year and also going into 2022.
Is it possible to just level it to two sectors or two particular markets that these particular trustees can invest in, say tourism or infrastructure or renewable energy? What are some of these markets that they should look out for?
Yeah, well, I think rather than talk about sectors, I would talk about what I would describe as an asset class. And I think an area which is totally unrepresented in Kenya is private equity. And I think we have lots of opportunities to invest in private equity in the region, and I think that's going to be my tip for you. You're going to see a lot more of that taking place in the years ahead.
Thank you. That was the CEO of Sanlam Investment East Africa, one of the largest fund managers in this particular East African region. Just to break it down, O'Brien, is I am an individual who, for example, is banking my money with a particular scheme. This particular scheme has its own board of trustees that are managing my money to ensure that at the end of my retirement, I have maximum interest or maximum returns of my shares. And these are the people who are here just to be told you can invest in this particular area and this particular area, so that your clients who are me are able to reap more benefits at the end of their working period. So of course we're going back in just to hear some of the interesting conversations that are going in, and of course we'll keep you an update at the top of the hour on some of the developments of this particular conference. But for now, I'm handing it back to you, Brian Kimani, in studio.
Very well, thank you very much, Janae Karisa, back there in Malindi, where pension fund managers are meeting to discuss the way forward and, of course, to analyze the market and see how do they get out of the COVID-19 mess and flourish, because they have been severely impacted by the impact of COVID-19. And, of course, we'll be giving you